Welcome back to another episode of What Are We Watching? Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing, we're doing all right.
I see you're rocking your new Collegeville Italian Bakery t-shirt there.
Hey, Madone. Are we supposed to tell people where we live? No, I don't live in Collegeville.
No, you don't live there.
I think. No, I don't live in Collegeville.
You don't live there.
I don't live in Collegeville. How are you? What's going on? What's new?
Not bad. How are you?
My boo-boo tummy has recovered from last week because we didn't record.
Boo-boo tum-tum.
Yep, boo-boo tum-tum is no more.
Sometimes it gets us, Like I can't eat long hots anymore. Every time I eat them, I get the boo-boo tum-tum.
Every time you eat a long hot, you have the long hots. You know what I mean?
Hey, that was long and hot. Was that because you had the long and hots?
Hey, it's Keith Long Hot. No, don't.
Dump it.
That's not a good.
That's a different kind of joke. We don't do.
That's
those.
a different.
We don't
movie
do those
podcast.
We don't do those jokes.
No, we don't. Sometimes we do. He just shook his head.
No, I blinked.
I think he did both.
Did I do both?
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't do two things at once.
You get confused.
So what's up? Did you have a good week? What'd you watch? Anything you watch? You watch anything?
I really like the energy. I did watch a couple things, mostly just Band of Brothers, and that's really been it.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, Band of Brothers. Did I watch anything else? No, I don't think
That's a good series.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times, but it was one of those things like, I don't know, I just need something to watch.
Yeah, I think we were gonna redo the whole series. We ended up watching the first episode a while ago. The first episode's awesome.
It is really good. Like they're preparing for D-Day and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
I almost said spoiler alert for some reason.
Yeah, that's
spoiler alert. In 1944, the United States.
Oh, you weren't spoiling the series. You were spoiling.
I was spoiling
the
the Great War. Okay. Yeah, we stormed the. Anywho, so that's been just really that. And then this past weekend, I went to a little convention, the little retro. It was like a retro video game vintage con type thing. And I had the privilege of meeting Sam Jones, who played Flash Gordon.
Gordon! That's not the... I've thought it was Flash Gordon, but it's Flash. I thought it was Gordon from a kid until I got corrected the other day. But
this is very new information.
This is new information for me. Ruined my whole life. Anyways, go ahead.
So I met Sam Jones. He was really cool. I was like the only person in line, which I thought was shocking because I really thought like, oh man, this is Flash Gordon we're talking about. Like, line's gonna be out the door, but no, it was not. And me and my buddy Matt were the last people in line, so we basically just hung out and talked to him for like 25 minutes, which was pretty cool. He's a nice, really nice guy. I don't think he acts anymore. I think he's basically just like he did Flash Gordon, and then he'll like do a couple cameos here and there. And
there was a whole scandal after Flash. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but there's a whole
scandal.
Yeah, there's a whole thing where they I forget what it is. I'll have to look it up on the side.
Oh, are you talking about like they dubbed over his voice and stuff like that?
They did something where
there was a couple things they basically brought in like a voice actor, and there's a couple scenes in Flash Gordon.
Blacklisted from doing other movies. I thought.
Did he really?
There was something weird why he never did another movie. I mean, Flash Gordon is a space opera epic, so I mean. Yeah,
I don't think it did too well in the box office, but that is definitely like a heavy hitter.
Yeah, and the picture you sent me, he was enormous.
Oh yeah, the dude's he's a giant. But yeah, it was cool. So got to meet him, and yeah, that was about it. What about you? What'd you get into?
I watched some stuff. Let's see, we went camping. That's boring. I watched Little Shop of Horrors because I was like, oh yeah, I never actually saw that, and it's not related to the movie we're seeing, but it has some of the same movers and shakers. So I watched that, and I hadn't seen that. And
That's a good one.
I'm not a huge musical guy, but when there's a good musical like Rocky Horror, I like that a lot.
Oh yeah.
This I now like a lot, and I will watch this again. I can't believe it took me this long to see it.
Yeah, we were talking about the cast in that movie is like bizarre.
It's insane.
I forget about it all the time.
Yeah,
but
so I watched that, and that's great. That's gonna be like a rewatch for sure. I really like that.
Is that a fall rewatch, or is that like a Halloween type rewatch?
It probably is. Yeah. I would say it's more fall oriented. It's not a Halloween movie, but it's definitely
It's got the vibe.
It's got the vibe
of a fall movie.
But I'll watch that anytime. Summer.
Yeah.
They did I forget if they did that or they did the original at the drive-in, and I didn't go. I was like, oh, I should go see that. So I ended up watching that.
Oh, we're at the Mahoney?
Yeah, because it has Steve Martin in it, but it also, I mean, Rick Moranis is the lead.
Yeah, he's
in
like
that.
the main guy.
Yeah.
And then a whole other cast of characters.
Yeah, Bill Murray, John Candy.
Yeah, I'm looking
Belushi.
Yeah, Jim Belushi, John Candy, Christopher Guest, Bill Murray, Levi Stubbs. He's the lead vocalist of the Four Tops. He was the voice
Of
which is cool.
Audrey too, yeah.
Tisha
Tisha Campbell's in it. No, but yeah, Bill Murray's character is insane. Bill Murray and Steve Martin are insane in that movie.
Are wild.
They're one plays a diabolical dentist, and the other one plays like a Sado dentee, I guess you call that.
Who's like super into.
He's like
basically,
yeah.
like in the chair. He just enjoys the pain.
Yeah, it's so good.
So what are we watching, or what did we already previously watch before this?
Oh, what are we watching right now as we talk about it?
What are we watching? A movie podcast by with Nick and Keith. We are watching.
Oh, so you're going to ask and answer it. Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I didn't know that's what you were doing.
No, that's what you were doing.
You always do this. What are you doing? Just go into like freaking out at each other.
No, I'm just kidding.
We are watching the 1990 comedy My Blue Heaven. Nice.
I thought you were going to finish with something there.
I was going to go like the theme song.
But you didn't.
Blue Heaven. I didn't. And now...
But then you did. So now, okay, you did it. All right, well, you did it. You came full circle and you did it.
Yep. So I am going to just go ahead and retire. So yeah, well, this was a good one. I enjoyed it. You know what I did want to do? Did want to shout out right before we got into this?
Sure.
Do you really want to know?
Yes. Is the answer? Could the answer be no? There.
What if
I was like, nah, it's cool.
Has anyone ever followed up on you with that? Like, if you're like, oh, do you want to know? Like, oh, you want to know what I did this week? I'd be like, oh yeah, and they're like, I don't think you do. And just pull them right out of their comfort zone.
That would be real weird.
I think that's on par if you're at a diner and the waitress or waiter comes up and is like, oh, how's your morning going? And you're like, this is honestly one of the worst days of my entire life. Yeah.
Jeez, this is going to be a hard ticket to sell. Okay.
Yeah. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
You said you wanted to shout something out.
I wanted to shout out, we do have an ongoing, when this episode airs, our giveaway is still going to be going on. We are giving away, I think if any of you follow our social media, we have 3 What Are We Watching coffee mugs. I have one, Keith has the other one, and then we have a third one that we are doing like a little giveaway for. So if you want to enter, if you're interested, it's free to enter. If you go on to Instagram and look us up, we are at What Are We Watching. There's basically some instructions there. If you just follow the page, I think it was tag a couple friends. And then as an optional, if you want to give us some feedback or like a review or something like that, that would just make me feel really good. Keith wouldn't like that. He was super against it, actually. It was wild.
I said, what are we going to get him something for free, you know?
He said, what are we watching? You call that a title?
Like, what are we giving us stuff away for free now? What is this?
We're changing our name to What Are We Giving Away for Free this week?
No, I think it's a cool idea. I like it.
So it's, I think that's going on until it's Sunday. We will be drawing a winner Sunday, the 17th of September. We'll probably do it like on Instagram. Was basically just plug in everyone who enters into. They have these little like random wheel spinning things. I'm just gonna plug everyone in there and then just record a little video and then we'll reach out to the winner.
But you can send me $5 to a special Venmo account that's gonna be tagged.
That's gonna be in an offshore.
And then if you if you do that, I'll guarantee that you win.
And then if you get 5 of your friends to send me $5 also, we can form like a pyramid.
Yeah. So you just keep giving and you keep...
And then if they get 5 people to Venmo me $5,
I'd like
before
to think
you
it's
know
like
it's all of our money.
I like to think it's an arcade scheme where you're spending hundreds of dollars to get that $25 foldable chair.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's only 100,000 coupons.
Yeah, they do it in like, oh, it's tickets, so
Yeah.
you're good.
Oh, you wanted you got 500 tickets? Wow, you thought that was cool? Here's a Smarties.
Yeah, here's an expired Tootsie Roll.
It's
You
hard.
freak.
It will
Get
break
out.
your teeth.
Anyway, so we have a giveaway if you want to.
freak.
Did you like that one?
Yeah, I do like that.
Oh, this show sucks. So we are watching. I'm sorry, we got the giggles today. So we are watching My Blue Heaven. It was released August 17th, 1990. It is 95 minutes long. The box office was 23.6 million. I do not know how much this made.
Well, you just said how much it made. You mean how much it cost?
Oh, yeah, the budget.
Come on, buddy.
I'm
just kidding.
So anyway, it is starring. Do you want to go over some of the cast? The cast is pretty great in this movie.
Oh, yeah, the cast is awesome. So Steve Martin is your lead.
Who does he play?
Vinny Antonelli.
Vincenzo Antonelli.
Vincenzo.
A.K.A. What's his witness protection name?
Todd Wilkinson.
Todd Wilkinson.
Wait, what did you want me to do? You do the voice better. You should have said that.
No.
You just wanted to watch me flubber.
Yeah.
And then Rick Moranis plays Barney Coopersmith, his FBI
handler,
who's like assigned to his case.
Yeah.
And then Joan Cusack, who have you seen Shameless?
I have.
So she's in that
wild role.
But like her voice is exactly. I mean, I guess voices don't really change, but she plays Sheila in Shameless. Her voice is exactly the same.
She also plays Miss Mullins in School of Rock.
Oh, Jesus! I haven't seen that movie probably since it came out.
We got to do that one too. But who else we got?
Well, you got Carol Kane as Sheldine. She has one of my favorite voices. That little. I can't even do her voice, but she is just.
I'm trying to think of one of the names. There's a line. We'll get to it later. But
she's. I mean, I guess she has a smaller role, but William Hickey, who is the grandfather from Christmas Vacation.
Yeah,
he's in this.
Billy Sparrow,
another another person in the witness protection, and Daniel Stern plays He plays what's her name's
husband.
Hannah's
Will Stubbs,
estranged husband. Yeah. And then do I have someone else?
Oh, the kids. So their kids are played by Jesse Bradford and Corey Carrier. They play Jamie Stubbs and Tommy Stubbs, who are two kids. Basically, they're what's her name's kids, Joan Cusack's kids in the movie. So I thought this was cool. It was directed by Herbert Ross. Did you recognize that name?
Yeah, he did Dirty Dance or
Footloose.
Footloose, not Dirty
He
Dance.
did Footloose, Steel Magnolias, and then he also did the drama The Turning Point.
Were you the one I was talking about, Pennies from Heaven?
No.
Who was I talking to about that? He does that as well. Steve Martin's also in that.
Yeah.
Okay. I was talking to somebody else about that. I was just curious.
Yeah, that was your other podcast with your cool friends.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because anybody else wants to talk to me. You're the only one that wants to talk to me.
That's
a fact. Nobody likes when I talk.
That's good.
But yeah, so what's cool is that guy was known for like choreography, and most of his movies are musicals or music related.
Yeah.
So the way that he does it in this movie, I thought was pretty awesome.
Merengue.
I will say I was at a wedding just a couple days ago, and I did.
Oh, that's my go-to.
I fired in the merengue move. My move used to be the Ace Ventura when he's dancing at Cannibal Corpse.
Oh,
he's just like he's going through, like he's slow dancing with himself.
Yeah,
that used to be my move because I love it. But the merengue now, the one move that I could do, I just hit that in the middle of a dance.
It's a crowd pleaser. Yeah,
nobody liked it. But
no, I usually throw in the merengue or the Cotton Eye Joe during like Drake songs, and that's always a big crowd pleaser. People are like, "What's that? Cotton Eye Joe?" Damn straight.
That's him.
Hell yeah, brother.
Does Cotton Eye Joe have one eye?
Does
he have an eye patch?
I don't know.
I don't know what Cotton Eye Joe looks like. Anyways, we are not covering this movie. Okay, it's written by
Nora Ephron,
who is
she's done so many.
Yeah, she did. I looked it up.
Classic.
Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh yeah, When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah,
another great one.
So she's a great screenwriter. But she's married to Nick Pileggi, who wrote The Wise Guys and the screenplay for Goodfellas, which is interesting because it's kind of related to this movie.
Yes, it is. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
For a
But
special
so this
bonus
movie,
episode.
the main character in this is based on Henry Hill. It's also the same character that Goodfellas is based on.
Goodfellas is based on.
Yeah. So at the same time that they were writing the screenplay for that, Nora was also writing this screenplay based a totally different take. And like I would have never watching this movie would have never known this was based on like real life,
because it's such like an over the top
yeah
like portrayal of like
and I
the
remember
mafia.
Nick
It's so funny.
like a while ago. It was almost like probably a year ago when you first told me to watch this movie. You're
Yeah.
like, all right, this
Yeah,
is
you
my
had
movie.
never seen this one. I was kind of shocked. That,
No, I mean nobody's even heard of this movie.
No.
Which is kind of crazy, but it's
Yeah.
such a good movie. So I started watching it, and then I texted him. I was like, "Yo, did you know this has like a tie-in to Goodfellas kind of?" And he's like, "What?"
Yeah, I had no idea. I was very pleasantly surprised.
And I was like, so I started like
we love Goodfellas.
looking
in
into
this
it, and I was
show.
like, how can this movie possibly? Like the first like 15 minutes, I was like, how could this possibly be anything? And then I realized, I was like, oh, okay. So it's
Like,
kind
it
of
makes
cool.
sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's who we have. We got the pretty unreal cast going on.
And I want to add one more henchman. There's Troy Evans plays one of his associates, and I don't know if you've ever seen Ace Ventura. He's one of the like the memorable, like the heavier guy that works for the Dolphins.
Who does he play?
He plays Nicky. He plays one of like the henchmen kind of guys, just like the
that,
wise guys.
He's like Nicky the fish.
Yeah.
God, I didn't
He's
even.
just got a
think
memorable.
that I
You
know
see his
that.
face, you're like, oh, I know I've seen him in something.
Yeah. So, the plot of this one. I'm gonna. Do you want me to take this one?
Dude, go ahead, dude. I'll just fire in whatever the hell I want to, whenever I want. I'll probably cut you off. I don't care.
It's not even gonna be movie related. She'll be like, I had an egg salad this morning.
Well, my freaking laptop doesn't work anymore, so I'm looking at a
yeah.
black screen. So this will be fun.
You're just staring at yourself. That's disappointing, isn't it?
I can't even freaking have tabs open. Can't be watching ball games while Nick's talking like I usually do. Dude, what if?
Could you imagine you had 4 different baseball
I have
games?
Minesweeper
but they're
going.
just recordings of old games.
96
You're like,
Phillies
dude,
and
I'm about
Cardinals.
to... Be like, dude, keep it down. I'm trying to see who won the 2004 World Series over here. Just trying to catch up. That's so
You got
dumb.
Minesweeper in one corner. Yeah, dude.
Just sweeping mines.
Yeah.
400 Google Chrome tabs open, just blowing through your CPU. Anyway. It's dumb. Anyway, so this movie. So it starts off with Vincenzo Antonelli, a former mobster. He basically is in the witness protection program with his wife, Linda. They are being relocated to kind of a new development near San Diego. So he's kind of like big city. He lived in New York, and they're being relocated to San Diego. They are under the watchful eye of the federal agent Barney Coopersmith, played by my boy Rick Moranis. And so
that's your boy. Okay,
that's my
your
boy. Yeah.
Nice.
Anywho, 2 seconds into this, we already lost everything. So they are under the watchful eye of federal agent Barney Coopersmith. So the movie opens with them getting out of the car. He is very out of place, Steve Martin, in this movie. The whole time he is on like the craziest suits of all time. So they're very out of place. He's trying to adjust to his new suburban life. He kind of like isn't fully... what would you say? He's not like fully committed to like not doing crime.
Oh no,
basically.
he can't stop.
Yeah,
like, he has this itch.
It's just who he is.
And he's not murdering
basically.
people. He's just working on a new scheme at all times.
Yeah.
And even like, yo, just all you have to do is lay low here because you're gonna testify, and then your life will be different.
So yeah, he's testifying against like the member, like a boss in one of the little, like a mob family.
Yeah, Gazzo.
Basically. Gazzo. So he was a capo in this crime family essentially. So he was basically like a kind of like a middle management type guy.
But he's not made, right? Because I think that's
No, he is.
He is in this one.
So that's why he was like basically like a middle. He had people that like they basically needed his testimony, which is, if you follow, we'll get into that later. But so they're adjusting. They kind of open it up, and it's a really funny. You start to get an idea of who him and his wife are, like just the type of people. And he has a really good. You can tell. There's just this movie. There's so many great quotes, but it opens up. Barney's asking him for his social security number. Do you remember this line?
Yeah, and he starts
thing.
And he's like,
Yeah, and he's like 826. You can tell he's never dealt with anything other than cash in his entire life.
yeah, he doesn't even know that he has he doesn't even know social security number was
and
a
then
thing.
at the end, he's like, all right. He gives like the first 5 numbers, and he's like something dash, and he's like 6 4, 3, 2, 5, and he just that's one too many numbers. You take off the 5.
He's like, okay, and then he just says,
And
okay, if you
Barney's
need
just
anything,
like-
you need to
Yeah.
call me.
And Barney is like the biggest. How would you describe Barney? He's a kind of a weenie.
He's a rule follower, and his wife says, well, the next scene when his wife leaves him, which is tragic. But
Oof, yeah.
to describe Barney, he has a system for everything,
Yeah.
including pancakes,
Oh, he eats
where
pancakes.
he has a system for how he eats his pancakes, and at the bottom one gets as much syrup as the top one.
Yeah.
So he's a very like by the books, by the numbers. He like gets his hair cut on a certain day, car wash on a different
Yeah.
day.
He's just like
Probably awful to live with.
Yeah, but it's also like 90% of the people we work with, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
I'm like a procrastinator. I'm like, oh, I'll just do 7 things at once and then not do any of them.
It'll be great. So you're just getting an idea of who they are. In the first couple scenes, you see Vinny kind of like slip up a little bit with the law. Like he's going grocery shopping, he finds like a price gun for something that's like 2 cents. So he starts like basically marking down the price of like a bunch of steaks, and it ends up being like $17 for like 2 full carts. He pays this kid with $100 bill, and he's just like $100. Like kid's losing his mind. So you can tell he's just very, very out of place.
But one other thing that happens in that shopping scene is someone's like, hey, have a good day. He's like, fuck you.
Oh,
and I think
fuck
PG-13 is
you.
allowed to have one fuck in
Yeah.
it, so they were like, all right, let's get that out of the way.
It's
But it's
very
so
perfectly
good. He's like,
timed.
and then the other guy tries to offer him some kind of like brand snack, and he's like, hey, would you like to try one of these brand snacks? He's like, why would I do that?
Yeah. What do you think?
What do you think? That's what it was. What do you think? But like, he's
Yeah.
just not.
He's not used to like the friendly atmosphere of
Yeah.
the suburbs, basically. And then at the end, he pays with $100 bill, and the grocery store manager comes up to him and is like, "Hey, like, I noticed, you're new in town. Like, can I get you anything?" He goes, "Arugula. I haven't had arugula in 6 weeks.
He's like, what's that? He's like, it's a vegetable.
It's a vegetable." It's just like so over the top. Like so every time I think I said this in like the very first episode, but anytime there's like arugula on anything on a menu or something, and I'm out to dinner with my family, someone just goes, "It's a vegetable." It's just like such a great line. So he ends up stealing a car. It's kind of a couple days seem to go by. He steals a car and gets taken into police custody. This is when you meet Hannah Stubbs, played by Joan Cusack.
Yep.
She's basically like, "Oh my god!" Like oh no, she doesn't know that he's in.
She doesn't know yet.
But
until
he
Barney.
basically is like, "Oh, like nothing ever happens in this town. Like we have someone stealing a car. This is gonna be great." Like she starts questioning him, and he has like an answer for everything. Like he's just like a typical like wise guy type thing, and he's trying to explain himself. Barney ends up having to step in and bailing him out, saying like, "No, he's like you can't arrest him. Basically, he's on trial. Like we need his testimony." So the FBI is basically overruling their local authority. I think this there's an interview scene where she's like, why did you steal the car? And he goes, do you remember this one?
I remember the scene.
He starts talking about, so his excuse that he starts giving, he said that his friend like asked him to jumpstart his car, and she's like, you just described the wrong car. And he's like, are you telling me I accidentally jump-started the wrong car? What are the odds?
But then that car belonged to the pastor.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah, he's like, no. He's like, I know this guy. He's like, he's a minister in our local parish. And he goes, for $2, I could make you a minister. He's like, he's like, you send me in undercover. We'll expose this whole ring of phony ministers. You're just like... He's instantly just I love it.
And then he says a thing about her shoes, which killed me. What did he say? I forget how it comes up, but he calls her shoes army shoes, and she just goes, "Oh,
the shoes are tragic."
The shoes are tragic.
This is all of these lines are pure memory.
And then
so
he
I
goes,
apologize if they're not 100%.
I'm looking at a black screen, so I can't even. I do have my phone, but I don't even feel like screwing around with it.
Yeah.
But the other line, he's like everyone thinks they have a sense of humor, even the ones that don't. And then
Yeah.
he tells her this joke.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what? It's what's the difference between a light bulb and
a pregnant woman.
You can unscrew the light bulb.
And she just stares at him.
Yeah, and then you're just like, she just stares at him. She's like, oh, see,
no sense of humor whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. So anyway, Barney swoops in. He bails Vinny out. And insists that Hannah can't arraign him because he's, due in court. So he has the name Todd Wilkinson. So he's basically like, hey, I'm Todd. Like he's basically not using his name Vinny. So that's why she also didn't realize it. So as Barney is leaving with Todd, after he kind of bailed him out, she starts following him out, protesting them, basically saying like, oh, you can't do this. Like, this is a small town. You're getting the idea of what kind of person she is. She is very similar to Barney. They're both like, the law is sacred. And, Steve Martin's character is just kind of making a farce of the whole thing. So, later on, he kind of flips forward a little bit. On Thanksgiving, Barney's workmate, I don't think we had his name. What's the dude, his partner?
Oh, Kirby.
Kirby.
Dude, he kills me.
Yeah.
He's a really
awesome.
good sidekick. Every time you see him, he's like, oh man, I just want to be undercover. Oh, I just want to work undercover.
He just like really wants to be in like the thick of like, he's like, I am an agent. But he just does like desk work. So he doesn't really do anything. So his workmate, what did you say his name was? I can't.
Kirby.
Kirby convinces Barney like, hey, I got a tip on someone who's like trying to buy stolen credit cards. Like, you got to come stake out, like come on this stakeout with me. Like, it'll be cool. We can get out on the field. And it turns out that it's Todd trying to buy. It's Steve Martin.
Oh yeah, ends up being him.
And he goes, hey, by the way, like Barney's listening in on the conversation, like from his phone, from the car. And his friend goes, hey, by the way, I never caught your name. Like, they're trying to get him. And he just goes, Todd Wilkinson. And
Barney's
his
just like,
face, he's like, God fucking damn it. Like, he
gets back,
so pissed.
And Kirby gets back, he's like, oh, I got us a criminal. And he's like, no, we already had this criminal. He's like, what?
Criminal we already had. So it's really good. So basically he's still like breaking the law, but he knows that he kind of has Barney to bail him out wherever he is. So it's just, and it's a little small town, so it's just that much funnier. So he sees that it's Todd, sends him home, and it's like, you got to stop. So after that, you see Todd, he is going shopping, and Mrs. Stubbs appears there in the little shopping center there, and he starts following him up there, like goes up to her and is like, hey, like, I'm a new man, I love this neighborhood, like I'm so happy to be here. And like he's just like totally putting on a front. They're walking by a pet store, and he's, they're still just trying to make conversation, and he ends up finding the owner of the pet store is an ex-mobster that he knew. So he walks in, and he finds out that it was his friend, Johnny Sparrow. Or Johnny Sparrow? Billy Sparrow. Yeah, was that his name? Is that his new name?
That's his name.
Oh, his mob name was Billy Sparrow, but his new name is Johnny Bird.
Johnny Bird, yeah. But the place is called like Sparrow's Pets or something.
Yeah. So he goes in there, and they basically Mrs. Stubbs ends up leaving. Hannah ends up leaving. She's trying to replace a turtle or something like that.
Well, yeah. So she has her kids.
Separately. I forgot about this.
Yeah, her kids were going to the dad's for Thanksgiving, and
I forgot about that.
They said they had a little pet turtle. Like, Mom, whatever you do, don't flush the turtle down the toilet. And she's like, I would not.
I can't believe you would think I would do that.
And then she's doing the dishes, not paying attention. She's like, I drink alone. He's got me drinking. He's got me.
Just like
she's got me
crazy.
Cleaning. Yeah. And then she's cleaning, and then she just takes the dish of the turtle, dumps it down the sink. It's going. She turns the garbage disposal on. Then she also reaches in. I was like, well, she's gonna lose some fingers. What kind of movie is this? And the turtle is Vamoose. So then
Dunzo.
So she's trying to replace the turtle.
And then they meet up in the parking lot. So
he's like, but he goes, "You rat."
Yeah, he sees. So he's in the pet store, and he's playing with a parrot, and he goes, "Hey, Polly, want a cracker?" And the guy who owns the pet store knows, like, is basically sees him before he sees him. So he doesn't say Polly wants a cracker. He says, "You're under arrest," and he goes, I knew a guy who had a bird that said that. And it turns around, and they recognize.
Yeah, he takes his glasses down, looks at him, he's like,
"Yeah,
you rat,
you dirty rat." So basically, then they start poking fun at each other because it was a friend it was a friend of his from his time, like as a mobster, and he turned state's evidence, and still being in the mob, he thought that he was killed or something like that. So he's like, I thought you were dead. Like, I thought I was feeling alone. Like, I didn't think I knew anyone. And then he has a great line. He goes, "You are not alone. Believe me, you are not
very
alone."
not alone.
Which is just awesome. And then you basically find out that this is the same suburbs that, like, all of his old friends who were, like, dead or missing or, like, arrested, they all live here, basically.
And I did watch this one interview about a mobster that was watching, like an ex-mobster that was watching this movie, and he's like, this is where it's too unbelievable. They would never.
Oh, they would never put people
in the same town.
Yeah.
You would never have two guys in the same town that were in witness protection. That would never happen. And I was like, okay, well,
yeah. All right, buddy,
this is real.
Yeah. So then it kind of flashes back to Vinny and Barney. You can kind of tell that they're connecting a little bit, which I think is cool as this movie develops. Like, Barney is a very, like, you can tell he's very stressed, very nervous, and Vinny is kind of like, life's not so serious. Like, they kind of learn a little bit from each other along the way. But this is where they find out that their wives both left them. So in the beginning of the movie, Vinny's wife is like, "I'm out of here. Like, fuck this. I'm leaving." So she leaves him. They find out their wives both leave them. There's a scene right before this. Barney's wife leaves him. There's that little, that line you were saying earlier about, like, "Oh, why?" And he's like, "You have a system for everything."
Yeah.
Like, she's storming out.
Well, so he's on the way home, listening to, he was just telling Vinny that he can get him baseball tickets.
Yeah.
So he's like, the Padres do play the Mets out here.
Yeah.
And so he's like,
he's like, "You mobsters, you all love the Mets." It's a great line.
So he's telling him about this baseball, and he's listening to the game on the way home, and the relief pitcher blew an eight run lead, and he says the name, and then he gets to his house, and that pitcher is coming out of his house.
Yeah. Well, you find out that his wife was a therapist
for this pitcher.
That pitcher.
So he's like,
He's like, "Hey, it could happen to anyone. Anyone could blow an 8-run lead."
And then he finds out that his wife is leaving him for this terrible relief pitcher.
Yeah.
And he's like, "How old are you?" He's like, 26. I'm
26. Like, "How old are you?" So, then they have that great line that Keith was talking about at the beginning, where he's like, "You have a sister. You get your hair cut on the second Tuesday of
whatever it is,
whatever it was." And so she leaves. So Vinny and Barney, like I said, start talking about how their wives both left them. There's a great line in here where he goes, "Yeah, my wife left me," and he's like, "My wife left me too." And he's like, "Something about October. I don't know." And he's, "I don't know. Pressure of Halloween. You never know what to go as." Which is so stupid.
Oh my god.
It's just so stupid.
Like, okay, Barney.
All right, Barney. So it's kind of like separately, both of their wives like left them. So now we're flashing back. This just kind of sets the scene a little bit of how Vinny was feeling. Like, he didn't know anyone in the town. Wife left him. Even like the guy that he's with, like, there's a lot of sadness going on in this. So he's introduced to a group of his like ex-mob friends at like this big dinner. And he's going down, and he's like, "Oh my god, I was your pallbearer. Like, you're still alive." Like, he's just like so hyped to see everyone. So they're basically talking about how shitty it is to live in the suburbs. And he's like, "Hey," and Vinny just goes, "Hey, well, at least we're getting paid to be out here, right?" The table like goes silent. And then one of his friends just goes, "Hey, Vinny, how long do you think those checks last?" He's like,
Forever.
Kind of forever." And his one friend just goes, "Yeah, here's to forever." And they're basically like, he said, like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, they're just going to keep paying me, right? And they're like, "No, after you testify, you're on your own." And then Johnny Sparrow goes, "And then the bastards expect you to go to work." And they're like, "Huh." Which is awesome. So then he kind of jokingly says, like, "Hey, like, if we're only getting paid until I testify, like, we have enough people here to start a crime wave." And then all of them just kind of look at each other, and then it instantly like flips to them robbing trucks.
Yeah, they have a truck pull up,
robbing delivery trucks.
And he has an insane lot of stuff in his trunk when he gets pulled over.
So he gets pulled over. He flies out from their warehouse, and they pull him over. And he is again brought in to Hannah's department.
But the thing he says right before he gets pulled over is, whatever you do, just don't speed. And he just
floors it, yeah.
And he gets pulled over immediately. And the one thing he stuffed into his trunk was an entire swordfish.
Entire swordfish.
At first I was like, it's like, oh, it looks like one of those ones that's already stuffed and on the wall. It's a real swordfish. Because he's like, he smells his hands. He's like, oh.
Yeah, it's an actual fish. Then he has, so she's basically going over a list of everything that was found in his trunk. And she's like, why do you have, like, a copy? Like, she's like, and what about the books that we found in your car? And he goes, you got something against books?
She's like, no, you have 25 copies of this book. And he looks at it for a while. He's like, yeah, just in case I wanted to read it again.
He's like, in case I want to read it more than once.
You could tell she looks at him. She's like, I guess I don't have to explain to him that you can read the same book more than once.
But he's like, every question he asks, you can tell he's kind of like, well, so what happened? This buddy of mine, and like he just instantly starts in with it, like the whole time. It's so great. So he brings in, brought Todd in again. So he's trying to do the same, like, trying to get out of it and stuff like that. Barney shows up again to bail him out and basically says, like, you didn't have a warrant to check his car. Like, sorry, you can't prosecute him. So he kind of on a technicality, which is like, sucks.
Yeah, he's been skating by. Basically, he just can't stop scheming no matter what.
I love it. So they end up, it's kind of leading up to the trial. He keeps reiterating, Barney keeps saying, like, he needs to make this trial. Like, I really don't give a shit about what you're trying to do here. So the next scene, a little while fast forwarding a little bit, they end up are flying to New York City to testify. So Vinny's back in his prime, where and so he's on the airport, or he's on the flight and stuff like that. And I feel like you can tell there's a scene that I'm going to call out here when he's on the plane and he's ordering the drinks and he's being like really charismatic and stuff. And he tries to tip the flight attendant.
Oh my God. Well, he also tipped Barney at the beginning of the movie. He tried to give him $100. And
so his line,
he's like, you don't tip FBI. He's like, sure you do.
Yeah. He said, all throughout the movie. So there's two scenes I want to talk about. So that one, he's like, he keeps saying, I tip everybody. That's my philosophy. And so he keeps asking Barney to like write down. So he's like, hey, I need to borrow a pen. Like all throughout the movie, he'll say like a funny line like that. He's like, I always say, blah, blah, blah. And then he starts writing it down. So this is just another scene where he's like, that's my philosophy. I tip everybody. Like I over tip. That's
like, I don't believe in tipping.
I
believe in over tipping.
Yeah. So he's you can tell he's kind of like, aside from the crime, you can tell that he's kind of like he has a way with people that Barney, I think, is jealous of throughout this movie. So they are in New York. They're in the hotel room, and Vinny's basically just like trying to get out of it. So he ends up, I think they're ordering room service.
Yeah, he's like, ma'am, do you have any Italian food? And she's like, you can hear she says Italian dressing. He's like, what does the Italian dressing come on? A salad? Yeah. Okay, I'll take that.
I'll take that.
So, do you have any pasta? She's like, we have macaroni and cheese. Yeah, we'll get one of those too.
One of those. Yeah, and it's just like, you can tell Barney's trying, but it's not working out.
But right before this, he made Barney get a new suit because his suit looked like a FBI's agent suit. Didn't look like his suit. So he made him buy a $1,200 suit.
Yeah. And there's that whole montage, the whole suit montage, right before.
But when he's ordering the food, then he starts crumpling up his jacket. He's like, yo, what are you doing? And he's like, well, the jacket's got to match the pants. He's like, I see you hung the jacket up, but you're sitting there wrinkling up the pants.
Yeah, he's like, you bought a $1,200 suit.
And he's like, give me that back. And he's like, I'll take these to the presser downstairs.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta go take these to the dry cleaner before the wrinkles set in. And he goes down there, and Barney's just like, oh, like, yeah, thanks, man. Like, I appreciate it. And he's like, don't you need change? And he goes, no, they'll have change down there. He just walks out of the room with his jacket. So Barney goes over. So he basically has Barney's pants with him, his only pair of pants with him. And so Barney is instantly like, holy shit. Like, he hangs up the phone. He realizes, like, shit, he's trying to dip. So he goes downstairs, and you see Todd, or Vinny, and he's basically shooting the shit with a bunch of his old, like, New York, like, kind of connected friends. So there's where's the I'm trying to remember the line that he says. So he's down there when Barney basically comes around the corner and he's not wearing any pants, and they're all like,
he's so fast.
He's like, hey, it's Louis Vincenzi from Vancouver.
He's so fast he doesn't even
he doesn't wear pants. It slows him down. And then he goes up to him and he goes, hey, how was she? Oh my, it's so stupid. Everything, I love it. So then what happens?
Well, then he's like, you want to go back up to the hotel room, or you want to stay down here and drink with what do you say, with drink and girls or something like that?
Oh, he said we could go upstairs. He said the hotel room and TV, or drinking and girls.
Drinking and girls, yeah.
And so Barney's kind of like, all right.
But he kind of strong arms him because he's like, well, all these guys over here are going to think you're FBI if you leave now. They're going to think there's something up, so you got to come in. And he's like,
you got to come hang. But you can tell, I think, again, like, I kind of like how persistent Vinny is. Of like, he genuinely like wants to hang out with Barney. Like, he's like, you need to loosen up. Like, let's go hang out together. Like, you can tell he's just like, everybody's my friend type of guy. And so they end up dancing, having a really good time.
They meet the girls.
They meet these two girls. What's the Sheldine and
no, Sheldine's next. Sheldine's like who he meets.
Well, I can't remember the name.
I don't remember their names.
But there's a really great line. He's like, "What's your name?" And he goes, "Barney." And she goes, "Oh, that's a lovely name." And he leans to me and goes, "They always say that. Even if your name's Morty, they'll tell you it's a nice name."
But he tells her that Barney invented the little heart valve for heart replacement.
That's another thing. I was trying to look it up. How many different... He keeps telling... Like, he's talking him up. He's telling people that he's, like, an inventor.
Yeah,
he told... like, a bunch of different
He told
things.
his family when he got off the plane that he invented the rotary motor. And his like, cousin or something's like, wait, didn't Mike invent the rotary motor?
And they're like, ah.
But before that, then they got it. He basically... That's when he gets Barney to let his cuffs go. Yeah. Takes cuffs off, and he escapes.
And he escapes.
Again. He's always escaping. He's a little snake.
He's escaping.
But yeah, so this is where I was talking about the dancing part, where he basically teaches him the merengue.
Yeah, he teaches him the
No
merengue.
way, I did not say that right.
I don't even know how you would describe it, like what the actual merengue is. So yeah, the merengue. He teaches him the merengue, and it's I don't even know. Like, it's just like a big horn section, and it's just like this. It's a little montage of them all having fun together, and you can tell Barney's like really, like, genuinely enjoying himself.
Yeah, he goes from not knowing how to dance. He's like, you're too stiff. He's like, stand up straighter.
Yeah.
And, oh, man, it's so good, though. And he learns the merengue in one dance.
Instantly. Yeah. So they're out at the club, and then two mobsters with white-on-white ties show up, and they basically try and kill Vinny. They know who it is. They recognize that it's Vinny. They know he's here to testify, so they try and kill him. They start shooting at him, and Barney ends up shooting a chandelier. It falls on them, and then they're basically just like Barney saves his life, essentially, which is just...
He's like, where'd you learn how to shoot? Where'd you learn how to shoot like that? He's like, the FBI?
The FBI. Uh-huh. And Vinny goes, that's incredible. I've never touched a gun my whole life. So Vinny is just like, I really appreciate, like, genuinely that, like, he says we're in each other's debt forever now, which is just I think it's just like a good mobster line. So they're back in San Diego. He ends up he ends up testifying. I think he ends up having to go back, right, to testify again. I'm trying to remember like what.
I thought he only goes once in the movie. I thought.
So yeah, it might just be that one time. Yeah. So he ends up testifying, and then he comes back. They end up coming back to San Diego. He was alive. Yada yada yada. Like, you know, Barney saved the day. So he's back in San Diego. I think he ends up bumping into Hannah again and her two kids. Yep. And then he basically ends up saying like, hey, like, how about we all go to a baseball game? He's trying to like make amends. He did his thing. He's trying to, you know, he ends up actually suggesting that Barney and Hannah like get together a little bit on the flight back to San Diego. And he's like, nah, it'll never work. It'll never work. And so he invites Hannah, her kids, and Barney to go to the game, trying to like, you know, set up something basically. So everyone has a good time. Do you remember what he's like teaching the kids?
Yeah. Well, first he tells them they have to get 2 hot dogs. Like, that's what men eat, I think.
Oh, he's so like, real men always have 2.
Always have 2.
And he goes, yeah, and we'll get 2 for your mother.
And so I think the kid pulls out his wallet. And he's like, "Never pull your wallet out in public."
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "What? Why?" And he's like, "You pull out your wallet in public, people know exactly where it is. They're gonna try to take it from you. They're gonna steal from you no matter what."
He's just like walking through this wild. He's like, so let's say you're waving your wallet around. Then they find you. They see you put it in your back pocket. They follow you to the bathroom. And
they always do a bump. There's always the bump. He's like, "Here, guys, stand here." He puts the kids are like just standing like just in front of him.
He's like, bump into your brother.
He's like, bump into him. And he bumps into him, and he's just like, "Look at this!" And he pulls his wallet out. He's like, "You didn't even feel that, huh?" He's like, "Oh no."
Yeah. He's like, "Now put this in your jacket," and it's like while the national anthem is playing, and then he
goes right into it.
Yeah. So it's so good. So they end up having a really nice time, like at the baseball game. He ends up catching a foul ball with his bare hand. It's just like this wild montage. It's stupid. So they end up mentioning to Todd, the kids end up mentioning to Todd, like, "Man, like we would love to have a field like this. Like we just have to play on like an old ratty one. Like if it rains, we can't use it." And Todd ends up being like, "Oh, like we should have a fundraiser for it. Like
you guys need it. First little league with a dome."
Yeah, he's like, "You're gonna have the first." That's right.
Goes from sandlot to a dome, like not nowhere in the middle. Just okay.
It's incredible. So he has this. He kind of has this plan that he's gonna get. He's gonna do a fundraiser. So the beginning of this scene, kind of lining up right into this, is they don't know that he's at like the I guess you would call it like their warehouse, like his mob crew warehouse, and they hijack a truck and it's all empty like water cooler containers, and he's like, "What the hell do we do with these?" And then it flashes onto the screen and it just says, "I become a fundraiser." And you see him carrying like a big thing full of change, like for this baseball stadium.
He's like, "You guys see a problem, I see an opportunity."
Yeah, I see an opportunity. So he ends up like trying to raise money. He sets them all over the place, and like people are genuinely like.
At one point, the first one he does, the guy takes down an old fundraiser and puts his up. He basically puts his own on the ground.
He's like, "Screw little Jimmy and his freaking
and it was like full. I was like, "What the hell?"
He just pockets all the change. So he doesn't end up telling them that he's doing it though. It's kind of just like he's setting these up. People are donating to it. It kind of seems a little sketchy at the first.
I'm still not convinced that he wasn't just racketeering the whole time. And he wasn't gonna.
That's probably what he was doing.
Wasn't gonna make any
genuine.
Baseball.
No. He saw like a genuine opportunity to be like, nice. Let's like. There's a real cause, and then that just kind of happens. So little later on, Barney ends up inviting Hannah to kind of like this cocktail party. It's like they went to the game, they really enjoyed themselves, and he kind of separately. I always talk about different storylines. So there's the Todd Wilkinson, Steve Martin storyline of being a mobster and trying to evade the law, and then on the other side you have kind of Barney and Hannah forming their own relationship, which is pretty cool. So they go there. He ends up paying off the band at the cocktail party to play the merengue. So he's like instantly pulls all the moves that Vinny taught him out on Hannah, and she's like genuinely impressed. And I'm just like, you son of a bitch.
And so Kirby is watching them the whole time.
Oh, his partner.
And so have you ever seen The Mask?
Yes.
Okay, there's a scene in The Mask where it's not the merengue, but they're doing a dance.
It's kind of like big band type music.
Cuban Pete. But like all the agents that are watching them, they're trying not to dance, but they just start dancing.
Yeah.
Like their shoulders start going, and then by the end, they're just like doing the full
Everyone's
dance.
going.
Everybody's doing the dance, and they can't stop. To the point. And it happens to Kirby in this movie. He's like watching, and all of a sudden he starts doing it. They start dancing. Their montage of dancing goes from the ballroom area.
Yeah, you can
then down the boardwalk.
The whole boardwalk, yeah.
And I don't know who is doing those dance moves for Kirby. There's no way that actor is doing this. Oh. He hits the most wild set of dance moves I've ever seen. And I realized they did it was like a sunset, so they like make his like almost like a silhouette, so you can't see his face. I'm like, there's no way Bill Irwin is doing that dance. No. It goes insane mode. He hits he hits like insano mode.
He goes sicko mode.
Dude, it's crazy.
He's so it's like you see those two kind of dancing. You'll see Hannah and Barney dancing, and it's like really romantic, and they're having fun. And then like they'll walk by, and then like a minute later, you'll see him like kind of following them, like doing all sorts of wild.
It's that guy it's that one guy on the dance floor by himself. Nobody's with him, and he's just sweating.
It's his night. Like it's his movie.
Everybody else is just swaying back and forth, and he's just full sweat,
and he's trying out for God knows what. He, if you have to look, you should look that up.
He's like, you guys ever see Save the Last Dance? Yeah, this is that dance.
Check this out. I'm like, dude, why are you yelling right now? You guys want to see how high I can jump?
I'm sorry, man.
Like, no.
Continue. I
Never
derailed
apologize. No, that was good. Anyway, geez, that's so funny. So it's the next day. Vinny is still again trying to settle into his life, and this is when he goes back to the grocery. He's back at the grocery store, and sees kind of like a dolled up woman that you can tell she looks like him, essentially like New York, like really fancy. And he goes up, pulls the moves on her, and they end up eloping in Reno. So he ends up he gets married. He calls Barney, and he's like, "Hey, Barney, I just got married." And he's like, "You can't do that."
And he's don't worry. Oh no, go ahead. You were gonna say, go ahead.
He's like, "You can't do that." He's like, No, it's okay. I didn't marry her under my legal name.
And then he's on the other side telling his age. He's like cracking up. He's like, "It's okay. He didn't marry under his legal name."
Yeah, he's like, I think you get the vibe that like Barney, everyone like wants to be his friend because he's like, oh, working this big like mob case now and stuff. So yeah, he's like tearing it up at the water cooler. It's amazing.
But what he says to Shaldeen,
oh yeah, I was gonna
he's
say,
like, it's dangerous for you to be in the frozen food section. And she's like, why? He's like, you're gonna melt everything in here.
She goes, oh.
And Carol came with her high pitched like crazy voice.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
She's awesome.
She is great.
For like her kind of minor role in this movie. It's very effective. So the next morning, or I'm sorry, at the party, we already talked about that. Just looking at some of my little notes here. So he ends up. When does this happen? No, I told the grocery store scene too fast, actually. So Hannah and Barney end up spending the night together.
True.
Next morning, her ex-husband lets himself in. Do you want to talk about this one?
Oh, yeah.
I completely
So
forgot
there's an earlier scene where Daniel Stern, who's like the ex-husband, he just lets himself in, and she's like, you can't just walk into this house like that. And he's like,
yeah, it's my house.
I don't live here, but it's still my house. And you can tell she's like annoyed. So he does it. So she tells him, oh yeah, it's when they're talking about their spouses. She says, well, my ex just walks in my house like he still lives there, and you can tell Barney's like, oh, okay. He's like now a wise guy,
tough guy, huh?
He's like, okay. So he's there the next time he does it, and he kicks him. He like kicks him either in the groin or in the stomach. Yeah, pulls his arm behind his back, like twists his arm, and says, "Grab the door." He makes him open the door, and he throws him out. Throws him out the door, and he's like, "Next time you come to this house, you're gonna knock," or whatever he says. Yeah. And I'm dying. I'm like,
and then he does this little like tough guy like
the little shoulder shrug.
Yeah,
and he comes back and he's like,
"Yeah." He's like, "How you doing?"
Maron.
And he, I just think it's that much funnier because Rick Moranis, he's like a little dude.
He's like a little weasel,
but he's just like mean dog.
I would have dusted him if he tried that on me. I would have dusted him.
So you're saying if Rick Moranis,
if he tried to kick me in the groin / stomach, I would have
roundhoused his ass.
I would have just grabbed his leg and shook him like a dog. Is that that doesn't make any sense?
No.
Shook him like a.
I was picturing you holding him upside down, like shaking out his lunch money. This is not related to the movie. I think this was like after COVID, kind of near COVID. It was like the world was kind of starting to get back a little bit back into the rhythm. Did you hear Rick Moranis got punched in the face in New York?
Yes. I forget why though.
I think because Bill Burr has a bit about it. He was like, he's like, we're coming back off. He's like, the world's coming back after COVID. Rick Moranis He's like, Rick Moranis got punched in the face. New York is back, baby. And it's just funny.
Yeah, but who would punch him in the face? He's like
the most lovable guy. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Maybe someone was like
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but he's
just like a lovable guy. He's just What I'm saying, there's no. He's in Flintstones.
Yeah, he does. He plays
Dark Barney.
Helmet. What?
He plays Barney Rubble in Flintstones, the live action movie.
That's right. That's a stinker.
Barney,
What's his name?
Whoa, stinker!
It's something. What's it? John
Goodman plays Fred.
Yeah. He does play Rick Moranis.
That's a top movie for me as a kid. I owned that one for sure.
You just heard that's this bullshit.
1994 was the year, buddy.
That year was a movie.
That was a year.
So, but no, Rick Moranis, he played Dark Helmet in Spaceballs, so maybe
Yeah.
people were just super upset.
They just didn't like that. They're like, oh, they fucking
Yeah.
did. They
They're
did
like, yeah,
George
dude,
Lucas wrong with that one,
You
dude.
got the Schwartz? Well, I got these hands.
Yeah.
Bah!
Hey,
And
they're
they
like,
socked
hey,
him.
yeah, you think you can make fun of Star Wars like that, dude? It's my life.
I
No,
got
but who-
married with Star Wars cake, bro. Like, you better step. I didn't. I'm just doing a bit.
We had this same conversation. Sorry, another farce. Walk the line and Walk Hard.
Yeah.
Have you
Dewey
seen
Cox.
those two movies?
Oh my god, yeah. Dewey
okay,
Cox,
I
Walk
never
Hard.
saw Walk the Line until recent.
Yeah.
That movie is ruined. By
Yeah. Oh, like,
you
I
can't
never-
watch it.
Walk Hard is so much better.
It's so sad. Like the beginning
Yeah.
is so sad, and all of the thing is wrong kid died.
He died in an accidental machete
My boy
fight.
lost his sense of smell.
Anyway, all right, we're getting off task. It's so stupid.
Can we do Walk? I don't want to do Walk the Line because that's
No,
actually,
I will only do.
That's a really depressing movie.
How about we say we're gonna do Walk the Line, but then describe the plot of Walk Hard.
Dude.
Be like, so the main character Dewey cuts his brother in half with a machete. Anyway, all right, let's get back to this one.
okay, but can we agree that we need to do Walk Hard is a underrated? Maybe it's not underrated, but that's a top comedy movie. It is so
joke for joke.
Oh
It's
my
unreal.
god. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so I don't even know where I was. Oh, so yeah, he gets married. So Barney throws the guy out. Vinny gets married. He calls Barney. Does that whole like, hey, I just got married. It's just pretty good. So then it's like 3 weeks away, something like that. A couple weeks before his assignment with Vinny is complete, Barney gets called to be put undercover. As Canadians, there's basically supposed to be like someone's looking to buy some stolen goods. There's like this big hijacking ring and stuff like that. So they are like officially going undercover, Barney and his partner, and he could not be happier that he's going undercover.
He turns up. He's like undercover.
Undercover. He's like, yeah. He's like, I got to drive a.
Oh man, I got to drive a BMW undercover.
He's like, I know.
He's like, that was the high point of my life, and it's like really depressing. It was like, oh shit.
He's like, I want to order takeout food. I want to wear a windbreaker. So dumb. So they end up going undercover. Hannah can't talk to him about it because he's undercover. Vinny is kind of just doing his own thing. So they are trying to take down this big stolen good thing. The shipment ends up being like kind of making it their way, and then you find out that this big out of town seller or like this big hijacking ring is Vinny. So he's in charge of the whole thing basically. So he's arrested. Hannah has Vinny booked, fingerprinted, the whole 9 yards. He goes along with him to like the motel where he's like, oh, I got this. They arrest Vinny, and he's like, there's a lot of big things happening here. Like, I know 2 people that are looking to buy these stolen goods. So he goes with Hannah to uncover these 2 buyers, these Canadian buyers. And it's basically everyone just discovers like, shit, like we were working with him. He was doing illegal things. We were undercover. And it just ends up being like that Spider-Man meme.
They're
Like
all
everyone
pointing at each other.
And
they kick the door in.
Yeah, they kick the door in, and it's just Barney and his partner just like sitting there, like doing nothing.
And so everything got blown.
Everything gets completely blown up. So he is arrested. Hannah is basically insisting that like, no, I'm arresting him. I'm going to indict him under his real name, like not Todd. But then Barney is still trying to tell her like, look, he's still testifying in New York, like in a couple days. Like you need to keep this under wraps. Like people are going to come in and try and hurt him if his real name gets out. She is kind of like, this is bullshit. Like, what do you think? Like someone's just going to come, like 2 guys are just going to come in here and start shooting up the place. Like she says, I'm always correct. Like, so she ends up going through with the arrest. Barney ends up visiting Vinny in his cell. So do you remember this scene? He's basically like, Vinny is instantly friends with everyone in this like local small town jail.
Oh yeah.
So Barney goes to visit him, and he's like, Barney, you got to help me. He's like, yeah, so that's like my job. I just clean it. Like, so you spill the milk and it's my job to clean it up. And then Vinny opens up the cell and he goes, hey, why are you talking to me like that? And Barney goes, what the hell kind of jail is this? And he's like, oh, I don't like to use this bathroom, so they let me use the one up in the office. And you can tell that he's just like, the one guard comes up and he's like, hey, you okay, Vin? He goes, yeah, man, I'm good, thank you. And he's like, all right, and just goes away. So you can tell.
And then he picks up a pillow and it's embroidered with his name. He's like, you got an embroidered pillow up here? And he's like, yeah, Crystal made it for me. And I'm like,
Crystal made it. Nice, isn't it? So you can tell there's this other, I think this is kind of like a subplot that's starting to develop. There's like this other officer. Every time he gets arrested, Crystal, it's kind of like this police officer that her and Vinny always are kind of have this like little unspoken like,
she says something early on the first time he gets brought in. She's like,
she's like, man, I just looking at him made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Which is just wild. And so like they have this kind of little back and forth thing. It's never like officially brought up, but I think he's basically
it is at the end.
Well, at the very, very end.
Yeah.
But at this point, he's just kind of like, it's almost like she just did it because she just liked him.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, yeah, Crystal, man, it's nice, isn't it? It's so stupid.
Could you imagine having your name on a pillow?
In prison.
Like anywhere, at home?
Anywhere. I don't know. That wouldn't be.
Like,
what if I just showed you
that's it.
that I have...
You start getting like being quiet and you're like sweating. You're like, I don't have one. I don't have one of those.
I'm like, yeah. Then other stuff happened. All right, see you next week.
Yeah, like I don't have one of those. You like go in the living room. You're furiously hiding pillows that have your name on it.
We're recording. I gotta go. You just hear like,
yeah, my wife made them. My wife made them for me. They're cool, fine.
Just hear me scurry off. So he Barney visits him. He basically says like, is upset that Barney. I think this is where he kind of declares his, not like love for Hannah, but he's telling Vinny like, you really put me in a terrible situation. Like I really care about her. And like now us being friends is causing a rift. Like this is not going to end well. So they're in court the next day in the small town. And she's trying to convince the judge that like, Vinny's not in danger. It's all bullshit. Like this whole mob. She says this whole, what do you think that some two mobsters with white on white ties are just going to show up like going through this whole cliche thing. And in the background, that's exactly what's happening. So they start open firing down on them. And Vinny he tosses up a table. There's just kind of chaos ensues. He ends up on the ground with next to Crystal, like the officer that has a crush on him. And she's basically like, follow me, I'll get you out of the courthouse, which there's a great scene. She kind of like crawls in front of him and he's just like, nice. In this like super cheesy like scene. So she crawls up behind him. He gets out of the courthouse. He says the same line he says to Barney. He goes, we're in each other's debt forever. And then he ends up kissing her. It's just like this big dramatic thing. And she's like, here, take my car, take my gun. And then she just goes, take me. He's like, get in.
He's like, take me as your prisoner.
Take me. He's like, if I get captured, I'll just tell them that you're my prisoner. And she like holds onto his arm in the front seat.
Oh my God.
So they are peeling away in this truck. They pull up to, and basically it's like a work site, like a construction site, an active construction.
Oh, they drive right there. That's right.
They drive right to it. Right. Yeah. So Vinny is basically there's this whole like standoff between the mobsters and Vinny at this point. And they're like, yeah, just like move out of the way. Like we got some business to settle with Vinny. Like other people, like Hannah's there, the kids are there, her kids are there, Barney's there. And they're just like, everyone, like no one has to get hurt. Just let us deal with Vinny. They kind of defuse the situation. Hannah's kind of like, well, shit, I'm beat. Like that, I was completely wrong on that one. And then he tells this story about, he's just put his head down.
The Christmas story.
Hannah's still on her this war path of like you intended on ripping off these kids. Basically, part of the other part of the hijacking was that like Vinny stole the empty water bottles. He was trying to defraud these kids through like this. Basically, his whole like what we think is kind of like a scheme is kind of crumbling. Of like you never intended to use that money for anything other than yourself. But Vinny kind of from prison had his mob friends break ground. So there's like a bunch of mobsters in like hard hats working construction and stuff like that. And then so he's like, I would never do to like take something away from these kids. And he's like, let me tell you a story. And like the traditional like Italian, like it's like very Godfather-esque. Do you want to tell the story that he tells
I
them?
don't. All I remember is that
because I got this one locked in.
Oh, then do it.
So I'm sorry, that was really aggressive of me.
No, do it. I know.
Are you okay with this episode? Should we redo it?
redo. You start. We'll just redo the whole thing now.
Welcome. No. Welcome back
to another episode of.
I feel like this episode is another one. I think this is similar to Surf's Up. Like, I feel like you've just been letting me fly. I'm like a peacock.
What do you mean?
Spreading my wings.
You told me this is your family go-to.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying that I appreciate that. Like, this is just my.
Yeah, this is like watching a kid open his Christmas presents.
Yeah. Back to the story.
Yeah, exactly.
So he ends up going on to tell this story about. He said, like, when I was young, I had this uncle Alfresco. Uncle Alfresco. And he's like, and I wanted a bicycle so bad. Sable. Similar to this story, I was in the middle of an anecdote, Sable. Sorry, my dog's getting all fired up again. Acting up over there. So anyway, Vinny, he starts telling this story. He's like, all my life, he said, growing up, I wanted a bicycle. He said, my uncle Alfresco promised me that he would get me this bicycle for Christmas. He's like, I counted the days until Christmas. And he's like, and I ran downstairs all excited Christmas morning. And what did I find? Uncle Alfresco shot dead under the Christmas tree. Plus, no bicycle. And he goes, it was a disappointing Christmas on many levels. And he's like, and he basically is trying to tell
you think I would
story.
do that to these
kids? He's like, if you think I would do the same thing to these children, well, then you don't know. Then he's like, then I don't have a heart. And he's just like doing this whole cheesy thing. And at this point, I think right there is when the mobsters come up, and he's like, they stick him up. I kind of jumped ahead a little bit. They stick him up, and they're like, hey, we just want to deal with Vinny. Like, no one has to get hurt. So Vinny's like, all right, everyone, get out of the way. He pulls out the gun that he borrowed from Crystal, shot both of them, like, in the hand, basically disarming them. And Barney goes, I thought you said you've never fired. And he just goes, I lied. And he goes back and he goes, okay, where was I? Then he pulls the kids back in. And that's when he says the line of, like, it was a disappointing Christmas on many levels. And so I think that's kind of the end of that whole scene is like, oh shit, like this is actually happening. Like there's actually construction going on.
And they're actually doing it. I like the part where they're bringing in the sod. He's like, all right, boys, green, putting their sod down, green side up. And I'm like, thank God he clarified.
It's so good. And then so it kind of flashes forward 1 year later. Everyone's at this new, like, beautiful ballpark. The stands are completely full. So this is a callback to what I was saying earlier, how he's always jotting down the little notes. So he ends up making a book called How I Got Here. And so it's like they're selling his book. There's like, instead of the traditional, like, oh, like popcorn, the one lady's going, the guy's like, peanuts, car radios. They're just like selling all this like wild stuff.
Yeah, his boy Nicky, Troy Evans, is the one that's selling his books. That's what kills me.
Yeah, he's like, hey, from the bestseller, How I Got Here. Like, so it's just a bunch of mobsters working at this ballpark.
And then they show Shaldine in the stands with the other mob's second wives.
Yeah,
she's like, hey, I forget what the line is, but they talk about how
she's like, can you believe we both married men in the witness protection program? And it's the same guy because he got married under two different names, basically. So he is sitting. It kind of flashes to Vinny is throwing out the first pitch. He's in like a white suit. With a red.
He looks like the
shirt.
founder for McDonald's in that suit.
He does. And all the kids' uniforms are like suits, kind of. So he throws out the first pitch. He ends up being back in the stands. You find out that he married Crystal under his like actual name, and they have a kid. And Barney is like the coach. And it basically is like the last line in the movie says, "You know, I even surprise myself sometimes." And he's like talking to the little kid, to his baby. And then it kind of just ends there. So it kind of ends on a high note of like, it worked out for him in the end. I think like you're supposed to believe that he like was a very successful writer and like was able to not do crime anymore.
Yeah, he looks like that part kills me though. He looks like Mayor McCheese, and then it's like 100 little hamburgers are all running out there,
all charging the field.
Oh my God, dude, I was dying at that part.
Yeah,
have you ever seen The Founder with Michael Keaton?
I was really good.
That's a really good movie, but he dressed like that at one point.
He really did.
And I was like, dude, he looks like.
It's not good. So did you have anything? What did you have on this movie? What was your take? So you had never seen this.
I never saw it until like, I don't know what that.
However long ago.
I've watched it 3 times since then though.
Yeah.
Like, this is the 3rd time I saw it. and it's hilarious.
I've
It's honestly
never met someone who's like never seen this. They watch it for the first time and doesn't come back to me and is like, that was the best. That movie made me laugh my ass off the entire time.
Yeah, it's
like, how have I not heard of it?
It's great.
Yeah.
It's honestly like I'm not saying it's a B movie at all, but it's like treated like one. I mean, you said the box office for that year was pretty high for that kind of movie.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a dud.
No.
But like nobody talks about it.
Not one bit.
And I think if it was publicized more as companion to or another tale of
I think that would have been cool.
Goodfellas, I think people would be like, "Oh, dude, you got to see this."
It's like the comedy version.
Because I was like, if I would have known that as a kid, I would have watched this too all the time.
Yeah, Goodfellas is another great
But
movie.
I will say Steve Martin's portrayal or whatever it's like a bit.
His hair, everything is perfect.
But it's like if you saw a skit like this, right?
But it almost seems like an SNL skit,
right?
That was
but it's a
out.
whole movie. He does that persona, like it's so over the top.
Yeah,
like if he would have turned it back like 40%, it would have been like, oh, this is like the dude,
a guy struggling to come to grips with reality is basically.
And it's like, okay,
instead he's like, hey, like,
he's got his hair done every time wearing
the one scene, which is the cover of the movie, but there's a scene where he's like adjusting to his so. I think we talked about this a little bit throughout the movie. There's different like sections where there's like text that pops up on the screen. That. It breaks up the movie in such a nice way. Good. But the one is like, I start to adjust to my new surroundings, and it's him like mowing his lawn in a full suit, and people are like, "Oh, hey Todd, how you do?" Like he's playing the part. He seems happy, but he says the line, "What a day for a mow," and he's out in his suit, and that is another line that I say all the time. Like anytime it's nice out, or like if I had to mow the lawn, I just go, "What a day for a mow."
Dude, it's so good. And I feel like, so when they're moving in at the beginning, it reminds me of Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
When they're moving in. Yeah. And because his wife at the beginning almost looks like Catherine O'Hara. It's not her, but it looks like her.
No.
So when they're moving in at the beginning, just like they basically move in after they die in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then when they show him when he's cutting the grass, it looks kind of like the neighborhood in Edward Scissorhands. So it's like, he has that like weird Pleasantville kind of.
It's all supposed to be like cookie cutter homes. Like everything is kind of like, oh, nothing. Like white. It's like the white picket fence, like stuff like that. And he also has, so I think another line that kind of describes this is, speaking of the white picket fence, they ask him while he's on trial, like, yeah, the government gave you this nice house. Like, how do we know you're not just lying to testify against like this mob boss? And he's like, and he basically goes into this whole thing of like, you don't understand how like he says the people are nice. He said the house is beautiful, the people are nice, the neighbors are friendly. Like every day I get up, you mow the lawn, and he's like, it's nice. It's really a nice place to live. But he says, like, from someone who grew up on the streets of New York, this is a living hell. And I think that just like kind of portrays like the whole essence of this movie. And I just love this one. Yeah,
that's a good movie.
Did you have any final remarks for this one?
Oh, it's definitely a watch. Like, you should watch this for sure. And I'll watch it all the time now.
Yeah, this movie and Swiss Army Man are always two that I'm like, odds are you haven't seen it, but you're going to enjoy it if you watch it. It's like if people need a movie to watch.
And I think both of those you recommended, both I watched, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, and you loved it.
Yeah. But yeah, this is really good, and I like that it's actually based on Henry Hill somehow. Yeah. Like, you would never, if I had never saw that on the Wikipedia page when I first looked it up the first time, I would have never.
Yeah, that would have been shocking.
I would have been like, oh, it's just based on some.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's movies like this. There's a lot of movies that have this kind of vibe. Like, there's a movie called Wise Guys with Danny DeVito and Joe Piscopo, and it's like that like, I don't even know how to describe it. That over the top, like,
yeah. It's almost like
caricature of like goofball
like a
mob.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen Trapped in Paradise with Nicolas Cage? It's Nicolas Cage, Dana Carvey, and John Lovitz. They play three brothers.
I haven't.
And they're not mob. They're not mob related, but his over the top, like, that's what I was thinking. The whole time he's over the top. He's never. He's always like in character.
Yeah.
Dana Carvey in that movie is the same kind of, like, he's just an idiot, but like. They're basically trying to rob banks and do like wild stuff the whole movie, but it's just hilarious the whole time.
Yeah, it's
like 90s weird.
There was a string. So yeah, this was
comedic.
90. There was a lot of these type of movies that it was like one character is super over the top and like everyone else is just kind of dealing with it. I feel like that was like this it followed a very familiar format.
Like My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah, My Cousin Vinny is another one with two Utes.
And then, have you ever seen Oscar with Sylvester Stallone and Marissa Tomei? He plays Oscar Provolone.
I haven't.
It's like
that
over
amazing.
the top. Yeah, just
Yeah.
wild. And have you? The only other movie I was gonna say is, you ever see Mafia? It's like
man, I'm really slacking.
It's
here.
like that's a parody of Godfather, pretty much.
Oh no,
I saw that way before I saw Godfather. I remember
Really?
my mom took me to see that in theaters. It's literally like, there's scenes that are like shot for shot, like it's like Scary Movie of Godfather.
Of the Godfather.
It's just called Mafia ! Point.
That's funny. Oh, I feel like I've seen the title of that, but
Dude.
I've never seen.
Is it a good movie? I don't know, but
Who's to say?
It's like, it makes me laugh like this. Like the whole movie is just one joke after the next.
Yeah, it's a heavy hitter. This one. I think that's kind of all I had on this one. Again, My Blue Heaven, definitely check it out.
Should we talk about what we're doing next?
We can give the people a little sneak preview.
So, in lieu of, is it in lieu of, or in, what's the word for? Not
in memoriam.
That's it, in memoriam.
I don't know. Wait, what?
I
don't even know what you're.
I don't know. What
trying to say.
But in the same category. No, okay.
No, in lieu is like instead of. So
no,
in the same vein.
In the same vein.
That's it.
But not in the same vein at all. We're gonna do Goodfellas next week.
Yeah. And then, do we want to do a little extra?
And then we might be dropping a little bonus where we talk about more Henry Hill and how these two movies actually came to be. Because it's really weird that they came out a month apart from each other, and so same, but same but different.
Exactly. So if we talk about, we're gonna do this week, My Blue Heaven. The next episode will be Goodfellas, and then there's gonna be a little discussion episode. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be, you won't have to watch a movie. That's just kind of like, if you've listened to both, then we'll start really connecting the dots. So I'm pretty hyped for that. I think
that's
that'll
fun.
Be really funny.
That's fun. That's fun.
Fun for the, all the kids.
I'm about to throw my laptop out after this anyways. This didn't turn on today, so that's good.
Use this as a goddamn paperweight after tonight. Sable, you got anything else to say? Oh, now you're not so vocal, huh?
She's looking away from us too.
Yeah, she hates me. My dog is...
She doesn't
a very
hate you.
Impolite person. No, she doesn't. I'm just kidding. All right.
It couldn't be further from the truth.
No, Sable's my little movie buddy. Do you watch movies with your dogs?
I don't know what they do.
Great.
They're just menaces.
Sable loved this.
They'll just find some plastic toy to ruin any movie.
Anyway, so this is My Blue Heaven. If you liked it, let us know. We want to hear some feedback for you. If you want to follow us on social media, we are 2 followers away from 400 followers on X, formerly Twitter. So
freaking get out of here, dude.
Get out of your house, go to the library, and go to Twitter, and then follow us. Or you could do it from your house.
Or anywhere that your cell phone works.
That's true.
That was misleading.
I took a risk, okay, and it didn't pay off.
Get out of the house. Wait, stay in your house.
It's not safe out there.
Do whatever the hell you want.
We are on Instagram at What Are We Watching. Like I said, we are doing a giveaway. We're going to be giving away a mug. We had some other cool little things coming down the road, so stay tuned. Kind of on some future episodes. I'll give you a little hint. We have big plans for the month of Halloween, October.
Oh, big plans.
Big plans. You could say we have big you weren't going to do it with me?
I don't know what the hell you were going to do. I don't you didn't coordinate. I couldn't even follow what you were going to do.
I honestly
Go ahead.
I was going to say Big Trouble.
But we already did
in
that.
October.
But that'd be misleading because we've done that in July.
And I didn't even float any of that bit by you.
Yeah, but go ahead. Just try it again. We'll cut it there and go ahead. We won't cut it, but we'll say we did.
I don't even remember what I was supposed to say now.
We're going to have big... You just said it.
We're going to have Big Trouble in October for Halloween. So any fans of horror movies, our little Fright Night series that we're doing, we got a lot of cool stuff coming. I think with that, Keith...
Dump it, dude.
Dump it.
Get the fuck out of here.
All right, everyone. Until next time.